We're gonna say hello. We're gonna say good hello. Thanks for joining us. It's Iron Sharpens Iron. Today we're gonna be talking about friends versus foe. We just thank you all for joining us, and we're gonna go right into it. So we're joining with Chris and Tia, and let's get started. Friends versus foe. Okay, let's start with friends. First of all, let's identify what is a friend. What do you think about when you think about a friend? I think a friend.
Yeah, think about it.
Okay, I think a friend is someone who genuinely loves you and accepts you for who you are. Now, however, there are levels to friendships too. And I've also learned in my lifetime that friends either grow with you or they fall off. It's just like with any relationship. But as I've learned that friends are, I can't expect me from my friend. So a friend to me would be someone who's loyal, someone who's supportive, someone who's honest, someone I can be myself around, someone who knows. And I also want to say too, sometimes friends are like sister or brother. Just depends on the relationship. So I'll let you all just chime in on what you think about a friend.
I think friends, to your point about them being like sister or brother, they are like your family that you choose.
Okay.
Like you can't choose your family, your
Right.
blood relatives, but these are people that you choose to be in these trusting, loyal, lasting relationships with. So yeah, your friends are your family that you choose. And I think sometimes they balance you out. As far as sometimes you find friends, you're like, oh my God, I can tell why your friends are just alike. And sometimes it's a balance. Like the friend is like this and you're like that. And so together, Yeah. So yeah, that's my thoughts.
I think friends are definitely needed in our lives because at different capacities, they can help us in ways that we fall short on. I think friendship for me personally, because I'm really um, closely guarded, because I don't let a lot of people in. So for me to allow you into my space says a lot about you, your character, um, just being able to trust you with myself. So that's what I think of a friend.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, because a lot of times we are guarded, and then too, I think it comes from being hurt. Though, what do you think the guardedness come from being hurt, from previously hurt when you've trusted people and they've let you down, or it comes from just you just um, making sure that you assess and measure the person from your level of what you expect from them.
I think it's all the above. I think it's all the above. For me, um, it's 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 from hurt, past hurt. It doesn't necessarily mean a friend hurt me. It could just be hurt in general from that I've experienced through life, family, and just some relationships are just challenging.
Right.
So for me, it's just I kind of stand guarded. I try not to be as much, but I feel like if a lot of people don't need to have access to me, and I think that's important for me. Now I can't say for everybody else, but for me, I can't have a lot of people have access to me because I'm still in a healing state.
Right.
So having the right people right now, in this stage of my life, is important for my healing, as well as support and things that I need.
Right. But this, when you say to having the right people around you, how do you, like throughout your life, how do you, when you different experiences, how have you defined what's the right people? Because sometimes I really believe people come into our lives to teach us, sometimes about ourselves. They come in our life for a season. Um, they come into our lives, at different aspects of our, what we're dealing with at the time. So how do you determine who are you the right person for the right time?
Energy. Like what's the energy that the two of you or the group creates? Like you said, different spaces in life, you're giving off a different energy. So what's the energy for where you are now? Like, what's the correct energy for you to be in where you are now?
Yeah. It's like that vibe, like a same thing as a
Yeah,
vibe.
same
Like what
thing
do
as a
you
vibe.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
yeah, like, are we moving in the same directions? Do we have the same values?
Mindset.
Yeah, the mindset. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's interesting to me too. I've looked over the years, like my friends that has changed from like elementary school to high school to college, and like even in my further on in my adulthood, how sometimes people still hold me to that old Lawanda versus the new Lawanda, and then sometimes I'm having to kind of battle the adjustment without cutting them off and making it sound like a bad thing. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes they don't understand that you grow and that it's not a bad growth, it's a great growth, but you're not leaving them behind, or you're not, fooling with, dealing with them anymore, or socializing with them anymore, participating what they want to participate in. It's just that fact that you at a different level now, and they don't understand that people change, people grow, people have different levels. So that's challenging as well, because especially here in moving back to Birmingham, there was a lot of, okay, should I hang with this, should I hang with this friends, or if I say no to this one, then this one will think that I'm, not being respectful of the friend group. So it's like a roller coaster ride too when you're growing in your level. So I think that people should understand that it's okay to outgrow your clothes, you outgrow your home, you outgrow different things in life, and it's okay. Sometimes you're gonna outgrow friends.
Yeah,
It,
absolutely.
it's not a bad thing.
I
Yeah.
agree.
Hmm.
I agree.
Okay. So let's talk about foes. Okay.
So what is a foe?
Okay, I'm going to give you my version of a foe, my definition of a foe.
Okay.
A foe is a person who is in your circle, in your friend group, but they do not have your best interests. They are someone who's jealous of you, they're envious of you, and they kind of can see, sometimes they see you have these people who can see that you're going to be a good person. I mean, you're going to be evolve, you're going to be successful, you're going to have things or whatever, and they hold on to you just because they want to benefit from it, but they really don't like you because they have this inside jealousy, envious, and they really want you to do bad. Now, I've had a few of those.
So here's my thing. I'm a cut them off kind of person.
Mm-hmm.
I will cut if the energy is not there, if the season for our getting together is not there. I don't have a problem. I don't try to hold on. Is something wrong with me?
No,
because we're similar.
Yeah, I was gonna say y'all kind of
we're
like
similar.
that.
Like I have no nonsense. I call it block ministry.
Mm-hmm.
So here's
Yeah.
the thing.
Yes.
So the block, when you think of a block, that's something that like in place.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the thing: if I feel that you are not good for me, meaning you disturb my peace,
Right.
I do not need you, and I have no issues. And I think for me is my cutoff game is super strong because I can cut you off and not speak to you and really don't even care, and it may be a little cold, but it is what it is. Um, I to to experience having foes, it's very, very uncomfortable and disturbing because here's the thing: if you're in my circle and you are putting this facade that your facade is this, which is mean like you're the cheerleader, but at the same time you got a knife put it in my back. I take it personal, and that's why I'm very, very selective of who is in my circle.
Right.
Because then what happens is if you have a whole bunch of people around you, then it can get so crowded that you don't know who's who because everybody appears to be for you.
that scares me more to have someone in my
Exactly.
circle. I would rather know my enemies because your enemies, you know who they are.
Right.
But somebody who a foe, you don't know. We can't identify them, and that scares me the most to have somebody in my circle who will be in my face, and the whole time they're sabotaging or stabbing me in the back. But the cutoff game, because y'all are similar, I'm a little different, and I think I just realized this last year why I hang on to people who are not necessarily have my best interest because I have a helping spirit. I attract hurting people.
Okay.
And because I want to help them, I all sometimes overly will allow them to continue to do things because I want to give them the benefit of the doubt and to help them, and I don't necessarily cut them off. However, I've learned that in the last several years to just cut off and move on. But before, I would allow it. I would allow it over and over again before I just got tired of them, and got fed up rather, and be like, okay, I ain't dealing with this. I'm not going to deal with you no more. Because what happened was I would expect me from them. I would expect me, you know what I'm saying? I'm loyal, I'm ride or die, I'm supportive, and I would expect that in return. It wasn't reciprocated. And then, I started to just really assessing and measuring and examining and be like, wait a minute. But before I would just like, I'm that friend that's gonna be the poor all the time. And then I had to realize, no, I don't have to pour all the time. It should be reciprocated back. But I'm different from then. I'm different now. But however, if my enemy or someone who, and I'm not gonna say enemy, but someone who disliked me for no reason or didn't have any type of attachment to me, I literally can go into a room and they would not exist. Like I would be so unbothered. But I had to learn how to get there with people who don't respect me and who don't have my best interest. And it's even more disappointing for me if they were my friends. And then I learned that they did have my best interests.
So, at what point? So, think you said it's different levels to
Mm-hmm.
friends. At what point does a person earn friendship? Because I know a lot of people,
Mm-hmm.
but they're associates. I can associate them with.
Mm-hmm.
I went to school with them. I worked with them. Whatever the case may be. We're cordial. We don't have any issues. We can be in the same room, laugh, hee hee ha ha. But I would not consider them friend. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
So at what point does that change?
I think that's for me. I think as I grow, as when I was younger, that's what I'm saying. You know how sometimes when you're young, they put you in this group and say, that's who you hang with. You hang with them by guilty association. They may be your mama daughter. I mean, your mama best friend daughter or whoever,
Yeah.
and you just end up, being attached to these people. For me now, how I would measure that as a friend is like you said earlier, energy. What type of our mindset, what interests do the same interest, what kind of interest do you do? You have. What do you like to talk about? You know what I'm saying? The mindset. So now, even though I would still have a conversation with people and I don't necessarily everybody that have the same mindset end up being my friend, it's like the connection that we have, do we have the same interest, and then more so than that though, how we spending time together, because I think you have to be able to spend time with people, build bonds and rapport. So what's the level of our interaction?
Yeah.
Not to force anything too, because sometimes we'll force things, but just to see how it go and engage in the conversations, in the time spent, and just grow from there.
I think to piggyback off what you were talking about, I think sometimes because we want that acceptance
Mm-hmm.
and we want to have that, so that's my friend, or let's go do something, and like you say, force,
Mm-hmm.
and so we could be cordial and
Mm-hmm.
be like, hey, oh, she seems pretty cool, and then I'll say, what, I want really want to hang with her, but not or him, and not really get to know the person. And I think then when we start to kind of push ourselves in their
Mhm.
spaces. Now we're trying to make them be in our spaces, and I think that it had it can sometimes turn to not good for us because it's not we didn't take the time, kind of like with relationships, we don't take time to get to know people.
Right.
And I think
Mhm.
as we get to know people and start to do things together, and then you be like, and then you will sense when it's time to, you know what, because you can feel who you can open up to.
Right,
Right.
You
right.
know, everybody you can open up to. That's just
Right.
you just know it. And I think that if we um, take our time
Mhm.
and to back up to be okay with ourselves, because sometimes it's okay to be by
That
yourself,
makes
Mm.
sense.
right? Sometimes we just want to be including people into our circles, and I think
Mhm.
sometimes it's okay to just be Chris and enjoy Chris, and people that Chris is around enjoy Chris being around, and
Mm-hmm.
then as
Right.
things happen, then you will eventually connect with people,
Mhm.
and then you will have. I think that's when the bonds will actually happen.
That makes
That
sense.
makes yeah, of course.
That
I
makes
agree with
perfect
that
sense.
too. I agree. Yeah. It's like spending, creating a bond and
Right,
not trying to identify what the bond should look like or
right,
how the bond should be created. Just let it
right,
flow and go.
right.
Yeah. Okay. I agree with that one. Okay.
But what happens?
When a
Okay.
friend becomes a foe.
What happens when the friend
Mhm.
becomes the foe?
Ooh.
How do you deal with it?
Ooh.
What are because that's when it gets really, really tricky
Mhm.
because you have emotions, you have intimate time, not necessarily has to be, non-romantic, but you
Right.
have intimate time where you guys have spent time together, you've shared things, you've done
Mhm.
things. Then what happens when that turns to the other side?
Ooh. I guess I probably should go, huh? I felt
Yeah, because
Because
I'm
you easy
thinking that's
going,
like,
us.
yeah, because I'm thinking that's
Because
when
you,
it's time to let it
yeah.
go.
Okay.
And how does
Okay.
that
Start limiting
right,
access.
right. And so how does that conversation like?
That's the thing though. I think we should have a conversation, but we usually don't have a conversation to afterward. Like it's some foes in my life that I've never had a conversation with that I've attempted to have the conversation, but because they don't understand that they are a foe,
They don't even know it.
they don't
Wow,
even
that's
know it.
crazy.
So they can't have the conversation because they haven't received the fact that they don't think they did anything wrong.
So how do you know they're a foe and they don't know they're
Because anytime or for me, anytime you're trying to compete with me, or anytime you don't have my best interest, and then let me just be honest, I do a little test every now and then too. I'll do a little test, and okay, let me say this. I ain't gonna say it every now and then, but with when I start to think that this person doesn't have my best interest, so it may be something like this. Um, oh, then I'll be telling on myself. Uh,
Yeah, we on camera.
okay.
I know, right?
Well, what I would do is just kind of like try to feel them out as to not trying to compare them with what I would do, but just try to see if they do see if they're investing in this as well as I've invested into the friendship. And
Hmm.
that may be say if I sacrifice to do something or I sacrifice for you, and then I may ask you to include you in something, and you keep saying no, you keep making excuses for it, or you're not intentional about being present. That's one way. Then another way is for me is like you're competing against me, you're jealous of me. Like if I say, um, I want to go to buy a new car, and then 5 weeks later you go out and get you a new car. If I say I want to, you feel what I'm saying? It's little simple things like that. When I was younger, I didn't really pick up on it or pay any attention. But now it would be how I know a foe, how you know a foe is a friend is a foe when that friend doesn't have your best interest, and then when you hear things that the friend may or foe may say behind your back when people come and tell you things that they say, or they're always sabotaging or demeaning or saying derogatory things to you and not building you up or encouraging you or supporting you. It's always a negative vibe that you're getting from them about whatever it is that you're trying to do. So that's what I mean when I say competition. And it's not necessarily like they're trying to match what you're doing. Is that they're not supportive. They're never positive. They're always negative, and it's always a if I say I'm going to do this, and they say, well, why you want to do that? You ain't never did this before. Or they might say, or they might tell or talk about where I grew up at. You just somebody who grew up on the railroad track.
I was going to say something.
Go ahead, say it.
Because I felt myself going.
Go ahead, go ahead.
There you go.
But
yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Someone who always tried to demean you or put you down and not lift you up or encourage and support. That's what the experience that I have with the foe. And I'm saying it in a general, trying to stay general and not go over generalize it.
Yeah.
But overall, a foe is someone who's in your circle or a friend who becomes envious of you for no apparent reason.
I'm struggling.
Mm-hmm.
I'm struggling because I guess the first question is,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to say, you're not going to always be able to do nothing with me, first of all. But wait, that's first. But
okay.
This is what I'm struggling with because I feel that way. The first time it happens, duly noted.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Then I treat you accordingly. But like, shouldn't friendships, because you chose to be, and I know nothing's perfect and no relationship is perfect, but shouldn't friendships be easier than that?
I agree, but if you don't have a original tone of what a friendship is or what a friendship should be, then you don't really know what to expect. It's just like if you're in a relationship with someone and if you've always been the person who's been manipulated or controlled, then your idea of what a relationship is to be manipulated or controlled. You don't know what a healthy relationship look like because you never had that experience. So if you never had a friend who was supportive and loyal to you in worship. I mean, I was gonna say worship you, but no, I don't want to use that. But honor you as as a friend, appreciate you. You know what I'm saying? Then you don't know what a true, real friendship is supposed to be like. So if you've already always had unhealthy friendships, then that's what you accustomed to. Unfortunately, but that's what it is until you learn different.
Another question: if I feel like I have to do a test, because I understand what you're saying about a test, let me tell this person this and see if it's gonna make it back around the room.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. That's what happened.
That's a test. You know what I mean? If you feel like you have to put that out there, isn't that already, and the fact that you even feel like you gotta test it to see, isn't that already an indicator that they're for?
Yes, but let's say this. Let's say, like I just said, if you don't know what a friendship is or what it's supposed to be. But what also is the thing about that is if you are not sure about what that person brings to the table, that brings to the group, the friendship, or I'm going to say the friendship. You know what I'm saying? What that person brings to, because think about it. Even in biblical days, when the disciples were all together, you had friends, you had foes, you had
yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you're going to have them.
Yeah.
I think what we do, this is what I think we do. I think what we do, we take that word, or we take that, we take friendships and we don't necessarily, what I want to do, we don't evaluate them properly.
Mm-hmm.
Because what we do, we said, if I like you and you like me and we have the same interest, then automatically we say, oh, that's my friend. Mm-hmm. No, we have to start investing in making sure that we do the proper necessity things that create the bond for the friendship.
Yeah, you have to nurture a friendship,
right?
Like you nurture a relationship,
right? And we don't do that properly. We just, because we was taught that. Think about it in school. I like you go on the playground, you play with somebody, and then you click with this person and be like, oh, that's my friend. No, that's not necessarily your friend. We do the same thing in relationships, and
I just think
romantic relationships as we do in platonic relationships. I'm sorry.
I think romantic relationships are way harder than platonic ones because it requires a different type of bonding and commitment. Even though it does require work, bond, commitment, nurturing, just like a friendship does, it's still a different type. Your friend still goes home. You know what I mean? And it's not. And even though you do life with your friend, you don't do life with your friend. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think that there is an element of friendship to a platonic relationship.
Okay.
But those are two separate things. To serve two separate spaces in your life, I think.
We're thinking along the same lines because I was going to ask a question. When you have a male and a female,
Oh my goodness.
you feel me?
Yes.
Because let's keep it real.
We're gonna do that.
So you have a male and a female. They're friends, right? So of course, if they spend the amount of time together, they're going to share. You know, she's going to share about her relationships. He's going to share about his relationships. And then because she's naturally and he's naturally going to have a care for them. I don't want to see you hurt. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm always saying, hey, don't, why are you dealing with this? But of course, when you deal with matters of the heart and all that stuff, emotions, that takes place. But what happens over the course of the relationship is, even though I care for you as a friend, now it gets a little sticky because I spend a lot of time with you as if we're like you said, we're relation with the romantic. It can appear because vulnerability, feelings, and all that stuff is being expressed, even hugs, but then it's like, what happens when I said, you know what? I actually love you. Like, I love you. Like, I want to make you my woman. And then when it's not reciprocated, then that can be very different.
How close is that? And that's the reason I said it. I have 3 guy friends. They're friends. They've always been friends. And there's no way in the world I would date them. And no. And I love them to death.
Right.
But because of the depth of our friendships, we've been very open and very honest with each other about stuff. That's the person, was a couple of them I called like, hey, what you think about this? And he gonna be 100% tell me the nasty, the bad, all of that, right? Because I know you that well.
Gotcha.
I know that that's not what I need in my life as a partner.
Gotcha.
Because, then the friendships are gone because we at odds because you have this stuff going on with your life because of the stuff that you've been through and me over here and my stuff. And it's that just does not gel for a good romantic relationship. Now, I will say that there have been instances, of course, I've dated guys who were my friend. You know what I mean? But it was just different. It was different from the get-go.
So you saying you can identify initially if this person you're gonna friend zone this person, or this person may be a potential when it comes to me. Okay, let me go back, because your statement in question was about males and females actually having a friendship. I think I have male friends. I think you can have males and males and female friends. The issue for my situation, and I'll just be honest, came when the male, female, or his partner, significant other, had a problem with the relationship.
That's interesting.
That's on him, but that's true.
But let me ask you this here: why do you think that happens?
Because the female, but it's on him. I'm gonna tell you, it's on him because, like I said, I have real close male friend. One of my best friends is a guy. We've never dated. It's on him because of the way he presents our friendship to his girl.
I agree.
So she doesn't know because we are close.
Right.
So she, of course, doesn't know how to read the situation.
Right.
And so, with every right, because he didn't present her or present me, he didn't bring us together in a responsible way. She got every right to be upset. And so, because I'm his friend, and like at this point now we know when I don't hear from him in a long time, it's like, oh, he's dating somebody and he don't want me to meet her. He don't want, he don't want to bring us together. So I just leave him alone and let him have his space with his woman because
you want no part of that.
Don't want no parts of it, right? But and there have been times over our friendship where he was like, "Oh man, you got to meet her. Y'all gonna like each other." It's on him.
I agree. I agree 100% that it's on him. But go ahead.
But what happens when he presents her in the right way? And
we hang out.
He presents you in the right way, but his partner still have an issue with the relationship.
Never had that happen.
I'm just saying hypothetically. What?
I give him his space. That's all I can do. That's my friend.
That's you're supposed to say.
That's his girlfriend. His priority is to his significant other.
Exactly. I agree. And if you're his friend and you respect the friendship,
right? Then you respect that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's vice versa. You know what I'm saying? If you have the male who has an issue, with you would say if he respects the friendship, respect her in her relationship, and trust her, and believe that whatever she got going on, is she's happy, then you're gonna remove yourself accordingly.
Yeah, and if I'm respecting the friendship, and I'm dating this guy, and I like this guy, and I'm going to tell him I have a male friend. We real close. We have never dated. We call each other cousin. Right? If the guy that I'm talking to is not really feeling that, then I have to tell him he ain't feeling it. And then because we're friends and he respects our friendship and he wants me to have a relationship, he'll be like, okay, cuz I got you. We'll.
But that tone has to be set initially though. You know what I'm saying? Like with the guy, specifically in my, I was talking about my situation. The guy has to set the tone, because if he doesn't, especially when the woman may be insecure within herself, you know what I'm saying, of the relationship, of the other female. You get what I'm saying? So if she's insecure all initially, and for whatever reason, it may have nothing to do with the female friend. It may have everything to do with the fact of some issues that they have together. But there's still some insecurity that that's relevant in their relationship between the two of them. And if he doesn't set that tone, or he doesn't express it and clear it out, it will be an issue with her. And unfortunately, the type of woman that I am, I'm not going to be engaging in that type of activity. So I'm going to adjust and remove myself accordingly.
Yeah.
Even though I may have to risk the friendship, then I'm willing to do that.
If the friendship is real, he understands, you understand.
But see, that's the issue. But see, that's the thing too. You're right. And that's the thing too that I had to learn, because if it's a real friendship, then it's not going to be an issue. And see, that's a whole nother issue if y'all want to talk about that, because I end up realizing that the friendship had took its course. And that's another thing we have to learn. Friendships expire. Like milk expire, bread expire.
That's facts. That is facts.
Things expire, and sometimes we want to continue to keep it, and cook it and bake it and whatever we want to do to it after this time has expired. And we have to learn to accept that and be okay with it.
It's interesting. Like, it's a good interesting. Like,
okay.
I'm taking it in, processing it, because I would be like, okay, this is my people. We cool. And if I'm being upfront with you, and my girl still has an issue with you, what's wrong with you? You know, like this, you know, like that. I'm saying interesting because I'm listening to you, but I'm in my mind. If I'm saying, hey, this my fault. You know, like
You're
we
supposed to
talk.
jail
So
automatically.
Yeah.
you know, and I'm being upfront with you, saying, hey, because if I say I have friends. So if we go somewhere, that's I tell you, I'm gonna know a woman. But that comes. It's not because I'm a player. It's because of my profession I used to be in. I know a lot of people. And
Right.
so people, and they're like, oh, you know, and it's just, so I need you to understand if someone say, hey, Chris, or if like, y'all my girls, like, these my people, you know, I need you to, you know, and I'm presenting it saying, hey, like, this is what we do. You know, when we talk, this is our conversation. I'm keeping it 100 with you. But then if I mention your name and your name, it feels a little resistance.
You got to question that with her. That's between y'all, you and your girlfriend.
Right.
And you have to question your relationship with her. How much does she trust you?
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah, but why? But here's the thing. Why? Okay. Why should I question the relationship as far as the trust if I've never given you any
And I was gonna say too.
indication. I haven't given you any indication to not trust me, but I'm telling you, like, these my people, like, these my girls. Like, I go to them, we rock out together the whole nine.
If you tell her that these my girls, these just my home girls, we
Right.
just cool, and she still feels some type of way, she's not trusting something. Either she's not trusting your girls or she's not trusting you.
And I was gonna say,
and that ain't on your girls.
That's hilarious. That is real talk.
That is real, because I was about to say that it's based on, it may be determined too on her experience.
Yeah.
Because if she was in a situation, in all fairness, because I'm a secure woman, I'm not going to question no man, question them, because I trust you. Unless you're giving me a reason not to,
Right.
I'm that chick that's going to trust what you tell me until, but if I've been in a situation where I've trusted you, or it has nothing to do with the current situation, it may be the past where I've trusted the mate or my girlfriend, and then something happened, I'm going to be looking at you side eye, because I'm projecting what happened then to projecting
that ain't got nothing to do with me.
It's true. That's true. That has nothing to do with you.
But even still, though, even in that situation, even in the scenario, it's still on, because you are the person that's the common denominator. It's still on you to say to your girls, my girlfriend ain't feeling y'all being around. If we respect you and we respect what you got going on over here, then we should say, okay, we're gonna step back and stay out of your way.
That's true. But you might not want that.
I may not want that
because that's your friend.
It's my friend.
And you've been friends for a long time. And so,
but why
go ahead, ask it.
But why? Okay, all right.
Go ahead.
Well, praise the Lord.
Okay.
That's what you said. I just don't feel like.
You just okay.
I just personally feel like if I rock with you, I rock with you, and I don't have a lot of people I rock with. So if y'all my people, y'all my people. No matter what, even if you married, fiancés, whatever, it doesn't matter, But I see y'all's point.
I think I know what the difference is too.
Okay.
My best friend is married, and her husband, who I'm cool with her husband. We all cool. We all family. But her husband, I went to visit, and her husband like, I'm so glad you're here. Because she'll want to have conversations with her husband, and he feels like you need to call Tia and have that conversation with Tia. So I think one of the things that you may be struggling with is women and men look at relationships differently, as far as the friendship thing. So when a woman gets a man, she's in a romantic relationship, he then becomes her best friend.
That's from the woman's perspective.
Noted.
So I don't know if men go through that. If men feel like because he has a woman, he has a new best friend, and so everything that he was doing with his homeboy or his homegirls, whoever his plutonic friends were outside of their relationship, that's that they kind of get replaced a little bit. Women kind of replace their friends just a little bit when they get a significant other. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So that might be why you're struggling with we just gonna let you handle your relationship and you catch us on the flip side thought processes, because you're still trying to have your friend instead of making her your friend.
And she wants to be that friend.
Absolutely, because that's how women view relationships. We were
okay.
Yeah, and so that way, and then too, sometimes women think that if you're talking to your friend and you're not, they're missing out on something, and it's like, so why you can't have that conversation with me?
Let's see. Here's the thing.
That's how women think, and men
Yeah,
don't.
but
He's like,
here's
call
the-
your girl and have a conversation. I don't want to talk to you about that.
But, okay, so see that gets sticky, because if she questions like, well, you should be able to talk to me. Well, maybe because I'm getting to know you, and it takes like I'm going to share, but maybe because we've been through a lot together, I feel more. I don't know. I just
It may be that, because even with my guy friend, when he has a girlfriend, I get annoyed with him calling me every day to talk to me about the sky being blue and green at the same time. Like, call your girlfriend and have a conversation with her.
but it's because they're comfortable with you. Like,
I never thought about it like that.
You can be vulnerable with this person, and I'm gonna say this too. A lot of times, though, you have them, like in males will have a female friend, and then they have their spouse. Okay, they may not want to be vulnerable or completely open vulnerable with their spouse, because the female friend's not gonna judge you. They're not gonna throw it back up in your face when they get pissed off with you. So you can be comfortable and open, and you have that type of bond. As with your spouse, you can, you're this role, you're the protector, the provider, and so forth, and you may not have developed that open vulnerability that you have with the spouse. And so what happens is this is the friendship is more of a safe place than more of the spouse, and the spouse doesn't understand that especially the female, that they have to allow the male to be vulnerable, open, safe place, and then switch back into the role of protector and provider and so forth. And every woman does not understand that. I'm so rare. Thank you. But
you just said something though. You just explained why I won't date my friend. Because he's been my friend. He's been vulnerable with me. I know him all too well. No, I'm not. You see what I'm saying? So it's the very same thing with this.
Some women want that though. Let me say this. Some women think they want it, but they don't necessarily really want it, because if I know everything about my friend, like if he tells me, my spouse tells me everything my friend tells me, I'm gonna be looking at him like this.
Exactly.
But women don't.
That's so real.
But I think that, and this is dope, because from a male's perspective, you hit it on the head. Like, we don't like to talk anyway.
Right.
Okay. So if we find a comfort zone and we know the ground is good, we're gonna stick to what we know. We're not just gonna switch up and be like, oh, by the way, I was at the waterfall. I'm not gonna do that. Like, and I get it, but then having to consider her feelings, because she's like, okay, everything's good. You need anything, or like I'm here for you, and it's like, I know you're there for me, but I feel like it's pressure.
Wow.
It's pressure. In a sense, it's pressure, and I'm learning at this stage that they're just like you said. They're like you said. There's levels to friendships. There's levels to relationships. Right. There's levels to marriage. And I think that we have to have this open dialogue, because there's a lot of people that just they sit frustrated, or they don't know how to articulate what they need to say or how to say it, or if I say something to you, Or okay, like this. If I say so, I'm finna
Mhm.
I'm finna open up. I'm finna tell you something. I just need you to listen.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Don't ask me 1,001 questions about well why because then I'm gonna get frustrated
Right.
because I got to get it out. And sometimes for us, it's a highway here,
Mhm.
right? But this is a one-way street.
Mhm.
So I got to get
Mm.
all this
To the one way.
to the one-way street. You see what I'm saying? And where you guys can just
Be on the
do
one-way
a
street, not the highway.
whole picture, movie, everything. We got spreadsheets, we got graphics, we got.
We're superior, baby.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's just keeping it real.
Yeah.
So if you look at it, that's how we are,
Mhm.
and yeah, this is
Yeah.
good, y'all.
Yeah.
So does a guy feel like his significant other should be his friend?
I think answer is yes,
Yes.
but she has to allow himself to allow her to be the friend. You can't force it. Just because we're married, you can't make me be. You can't
Vulnerable.
allow. You can't force it on me.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? I think that, and I think that goes both ways
Mhm.
because when you enter into a relationship, especially marriage,
Mhm.
we're okay. We're now one.
Mm-hmm.
We're taking two spaces, combined into
Mhm.
one. We're learning how to cohabitate. We're learning each other. I'm figuring out how you function in your
Right.
space, and then I got to make sure our spaces bond. It's a lot, and then you want to add in conversation, and you want to be my friend, and all this. It can be. It's one day at a time.
Mhm.
It's one day at a time.
Yeah.
I see you thinking to you.
I am thinking because I'm thinking. I don't know. I'm just thinking.
Right.
I don't know if I want to do all of that cohabitating and putting you in my space and all of this type of stuff if I don't feel like you're my
That's what I was
friend.
gonna
'Cause there's
say.
a
That's what I was gonna
security in that friendship.
say.
Yeah,
Like,
Yeah.
how do
So
you
we go
get
back.
to that space
That's
without being
Yeah,
friends first?
you know what?
That's good. That's what I'm
I
thinking
saw her.
too.
I saw her brain going. So I knew she was gonna come back.
Yeah.
I was just trying to put myself in the scenario
Yeah,
that you were
I got
were
you.
given, and I'm like, I'm not doing all of that with somebody I don't feel secure with.
Right. Right.
Because you have to build the friendship, and see, I learned that later in life, you have to you have to build a friendship. But then, too, if you think about it, though, you have to figure out what level you are individual
Got you.
to be able to identify what the friendship should look like. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're on two different accords, or like let's say, if I want my mate to, I definitely want my mate to be my friend. But what level of friend do I want him to be? You know, and what that looks like. We just got through talking about when I said I don't know if he know my everything, but I mean, if I know everything about him, I might be like, oh, you know what I'm saying. But at the same
Right.
time, I still want to have that friendship open enough where we can still be safe, have a safe environment, a safe place for each other. But there's some things I might need to tell him, you need to go talk to so and so about that, or be okay with them talking to so and so
Yeah.
about that, because I might not need to know that, or I might not want to know that, or it might not be a safe place for you to talk to me about it. You know what I'm saying? So it's still a friendship, just like I'm gonna give you an example. Just like you and Tia, I consider friends, right?
Mhm.
It's some things that I probably come to you with. A lot of things I come to you, several things I come to you before I come to Tia, and vice
Right.
versa. You get what I'm saying? So it's depending on the safe place that I have with the individual, with each one of you are individual. So you have to be able to identify what level of the friendship is.
That's
And I
good.
think that's what happens sometimes. We get confused about what level of our spouse do I want to be friends
With
with him.
friend.
Mhm.
Mm.
That's good. That's
And
good.
sometimes people don't understand it because they have not developed healthy friendships, but that goes back to healthy person.
Yeah.
You
That's
get what I'm
good.
saying?
That's good. That's good. That's good. Okay, y'all got me together. Y'all got me
No,
And
together.
me
no,
too, for
me
that
too,
matter.
me too. I'm serious, me too, because I'm me seriously, me too, because I think about when you go when I think about my friendships over the years. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't really think that I was fair to myself. I'm talking about as a child, because my friendships were based on what I allowed, but at the same time, it were based on what I opened up to. I mean, what I was able to open up, and what I mean by that is removing the barrier. Because if nobody can, I think this: we teach people how to treat us. We teach people how to treat us, and if I didn't properly teach them, then that falls back on me.
That's good. That's good.
You know what I'm saying? Not necessarily on them. If I accepted or I allowed you to do this, that's on me. That ain't on them.
Yeah.
So I think
that's why they say as you grow older, your friends become fewer.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine.
Because you don't accept just because we're in the same space that we're friends. Your friends become people that are almost handpicked based on whatever circumstance. And so
that's a fair assessment.
That's fair. And then I was going to quickly too, just to piggyback on you, when we was talking about spouses and having a male having a female friend, and that their spouse is like, kind of uncomfortable about it. I think too, this approach should be, if that friend and that understands that she has to be a part of the family now, because she has to, then there should be some bonding between the two of them. And if you are an outside woman, not outside woman, but if you are outside woman, I didn't mean to say that. Oh no, I didn't mean to say that.
Individual.
But if you're the friend and that's outside of the relationship,
that's why I started saying significant other. That's the significant other is the girlfriend, and then the husband.
Yes,
yeah. I got
you. But if you're, okay, I'm gonna bring it really in. If you're married and you have a friend that's the outside friend, and there should be some type, and you say this is my family, but she doesn't feel like this is her family because it's your family, then there should be some intentional bonding things to do between the two of them. And it amazes me though, because the friend, the wife, the spouse, significant other, doesn't realize if this is his friend, I can learn so much, because I need to get to know this chick so I can learn more, and that's gonna nothing but help me. But they don't do that. They get mad and and just block her out and don't want her around. Be like, I'm gonna spend some. Let's do lunch together. You know what I'm saying? Because it would only.
I think that's vice versa. I think that can go both ways.
Mm-hmm.
From a male perspective.
Yes.
He has to foster it though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. He has.
You have to, the guy or the
female.
Has to set that tone. Say, look, y'all get together.
Right.
Y'all have a conversation, or
they have to want that.
It has to start with, she said, "Hey, how you doing? I'm good. How you doing?" Something like that.
Yeah, it has to be. This tone has to be set originally. And it has to be a good tone. It has to be a tone where you want it and be included. Because if it's not, then they'll end up, the relationship will be expired 10 times, terminated, dead.
So you ever been with a that went south.
Expired, dead. You
wow. Come back.
I know, right. Okay, I'm back.
Y'all good.
Ooh, I had a little moment. There was a little, I had a little flashback. Had a little flashback. Okay.
Oh, okay. She was like,
because I was thinking about something. I was trying to think, had I ever been the significant other in the relationship with the female friend, and I have.
Yeah, I have too.
Yeah, and it was okay. Mm-hmm. He didn't foster it. His family did, but it was still cool. Trying to see if I want to say why. Let me just say this. She picked my gifts. We're going to say it like that.
Oh,
yeah.
She did? Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, in my situation, I was married, and the female friend was the female friend, and I didn't have a problem with it because I had a male friend and I knew that there was nothing else going on. So I was like, encourage the friendship. I you can converse with her, talk. I'll leave the room. I ain't staying in there. I'm not asking why you talking to her or whatever, nothing like that. But I also think too, you have to set boundaries though, because if you're talking to, and people, I've heard people say this. I mean, I've heard Steve Harvey say this. He's a male. He don't have female friends. His wife is his only friend or whatever. But
that's not true.
I don't think you should have a problem with it as long as, like I said, when it's done in a respectful manner, and when you have boundaries set. Now, if you talking to the female or the male, and you can't do it in front of the spouse, that's a
That's something
problem.
totally different.
You know what I'm saying? That's different.
Or
But
if you're a guy and your female friend can't bring her guy around, that's a
yeah,
problem.
that's a problem. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, I think friendships are different. They're totally different levels of friendships.
Yeah.
And we have to be mindful of that. Yeah, definitely. And there's different levels of foes too, because sometimes
I thought a foe was a foe. She said different levels of foe. Oh Lord, you said different levels.
sometimes okay, maybe not different levels, but let me say we have to put them in their respective categories. They have categories that we place them in.
So do you keep foes around?
I don't. Okay, there. Let me say this.
I'm trying. I'm working on it.
I don't think.
Still working
I don't
on me
think.
because I will cut you off.
I don't think you keep foes around. I don't. I don't think you keep foes around. But some foes will grab on so tight that it's kind of hard to just cut them off.
They don't have that choice.
They have a choice with me.
They don't have a choice.
No, how you got a choice of how tight you gonna hold on to me?
No, I'm good. You cut me. That's it. I'm done.
What I mean by that is, okay, it depends on the cut. You know what I'm saying? It depends on how the foe cuts you. Like, let's say you have a foe, and the foe is.
I'm like Chris.
I'm just saying. I'm just putting this out there. I'm not saying it happened to me. I'm not saying that.
No, I just want you to explain this theory.
Okay, this is just a theory. So, what if the foe cut is not someone who initially just did anything derogatory, sabotage you, or lied on you, or tried to ruin you, right? But at some point, they're the person who's around you, and they report back to other people. They may talk behind your back or
they're foe.
Right, they are foe.
That's the only time you do a test.
Okay, so they're foe. But the foe might be a good foe because they may be the foe that you need to keep you walking in silence, not telling your business to them. I'm just saying, y'all.
That's just too much control.
Motivate.
That's too much control over my existence.
Okay,
like,
so you're saying what y'all saying? I hear y'all saying foes or no. Oh no.
No, well, it's
in the circle.
Well, here's the thing. I just think a foe is just what it is, a foe.
Okay.
I respect what you're saying,
Mm-hmm.
but for me,
I don't have any foes in my life.
I'm not saying you got a foe.
I know.
I'm just saying. I'm your comment. Good foes, bad foes.
I like that.
Good foes, bad foes. Foes are foes.
Right.
And in my perspective, and just for me, it's just good for me to just get them, just get them out of my way.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and here's the thing: people are going to be people. So I don't. Yes, it hurts, but I'm still going to be Chris, and I'm still going to be successful with or without you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So I can't. After I identify who you are, I properly put you in your category, and I keep it moving.
Right.
That part.
You know, and it's and I think that it helps not only me, but it helps the persons, because at the end of the day, it's got to be about you. This is you. You have to protect what's around you. And if that person or individuals does not respect who you are or what you are to them in their lives, then I'm sorry.
They're not a friend.
They're not a friend.
They gotta go.
They gotta go.
They gotta
I
go.
like that.
So even with and I think all of us can say we're all giving people. We love to help people, and I think there's not a situation that would arise that we would not go our way. But when you show me who you are,
that part.
that's it.
Yeah.
And even with that, at this stage in life, I still have grace enough to honor the scripture. But I deal with you accordingly.
I think that's 100% on it, and I think that's right. That's true, because even now, and we talked about that earlier about me having foes. I don't have any known foes in my life, because I've learned that as I've gotten older to allow people to You know how people say you cut me off? I don't cut you off. You cut yourself off. You know what I'm saying? So I don't have a problem with that now. I used to have a problem with it early on in life, and it's probably 15 years ago. But now I don't have a problem with that. I have a problem with people staying in my circle and not being true to me, because I know what I give, I know what I expect,
Right.
and so I'm okay with that. But that also played a part in me not knowing my worth, my true worth, because if you know who you are and you know what you bring to the table, you know what you expect, you know what you give, then you have nothing but the right to receive that back.
Right.
You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
So for me now, personally, I have come to that conclusion that I don't even want people in my circle who are not that do not have my best interest and don't support me, and that I can't trust.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I agree with you. Yeah, definitely. Fold at this point in life, I don't want to deal with that. But does not mean it's the saying that too. I've heard. I still want you to eat, but just not at the table with me.
Well,
Yeah, I don't mean you no harm.
well,
You're just not a part of my space.
Okay, I'm gonna get a little hood.
Okay.
I don't care about you. I don't care about you. You go hungry for all I'm concerned. Because once you show me who you are,
Wow.
you just get to nothing here.
That's kind of true, though.
I'm just
I kinda feel like
giving
you out of
you
sight,
agree-
out of mind.
You agree with that too?
Yeah, kind of out of sight, out of
Like, I
mind.
don't care if you
Yeah.
eat or not. Because
Yeah.
you're not going to eat at my table. You ain't finna be in the vicinity. So, I'm sorry. Lord, forgive me. No, don't forgive me, Lord. I'm being honest. I'm being true.
That's
I know what I think it is too. There's associates, there's friends, there's associates, and there's foes. Just because you're an associate does not make you a foe.
That's good.
That's
That's a good point. Mm-hmm.
So I think maybe that's the mix up. You keep associates around. You want your associates to do well. You still have a cordial relationship with them. A foe is a foe. A foe got to go.
I like